What is up, YouTube? We're back with another YouTube video, and today we are here with a K1 Logistics Legend Lost Sector guide. And for those of you who don't know, to find this lost sector, you're going to have to go to the moon. So go to your destinations tab, go to the bottom right to the moon, spawn here in Sanctuary, and then if you don't see this little icon or banner when we get there, I'll show you guys how to unlock it. But obviously just spawn Sanctuary, and then go straight to your left. I do want to apologize for people that were probably expecting this video at reset. At the time reset happened, there was a lot of construction going on, so I opted not to record the video then. And then once it hit like 8 o'clock, I had fallen asleep. So I'm recording this at 5 in the morning right now, because I just woke up. So we are going to try to get this out as fast as possible, but I do apologize for a little delay. As you can see, once you get here, there's a flag here, and there is the icon on the map like you saw. But if you didn't see that, make sure you go inside right here, and where you see these little ghost slash, dead guardians, just keep walking towards it over here. And then once you reach a certain point, you'll enter the lost sector, and then that's where you're gonna want to complete it normally. Make sure to kill the boss at the end and loot the chest at the end, and you'll unlock legend and master lost sectors for this lost sector. So you can see once we reach right here, we're in the lost sector, K1 Logistics. So complete it like normal, like I said, and then you'll unlock legend and master lost sectors for this one. So now we're gonna go back up here, and then we're gonna take a look at the modifiers. Just work our way around here. And now that we're here, let's take a look at these modifiers. We have arc and solar shields, locked loadout, extra shields, equipment locked, limited revives, barrier and overload champions. We have void threat, 25% increase to incoming void damage. We have hot knife, shanks now have solar shields. We have overcharged weapons. Weapon overcharges from the seasonal artifact are active in this activity. Kinetic weapons do increased damage when your subclass element matches an active surge. Then we have arc surge, which is a 25% bonus to outgoing arc damage. Then we have a void surge, which is 25% bonus to outgoing void damage. Overcharged sniper rifle, which is 25% bonus to sniper rifle damage. And then we have, if completed solo, exotic head armor is rare, and enhancement cores are uncommon. Recommended power 1830, but 1815 and above you should be fine. So I do want to point out, if you're a warlock and you don't have the new exotic yet, this would be a good time to try to get it, preferably because it is head armor. But don't worry about it if you can't do it today. There are going to be other lost sectors that are going to be in the rotation, but it's just something to keep an eye out if that's what you want. So now we're going to switch over to the loadout, and then we'll get into the gameplay. So here's the build that I have put together, and if you saw yesterday's Lost Sector video for K1 Crew Quarters, then you probably know this is the exact same setup that I ran yesterday. And I mean, that's how good I think the build is, in my opinion. It's super easy to use. You're not really doing too much to activate anything. The most you're doing at all is just picking up orbs. So we're just going to get straight into it here. In terms of subclass, Void, Hunter, Shadow Shot, Mobius, Quiver. Then we got Marksman Dodge, Triple Jump, Snare Bomb, Vortex Grenade. And then for aspects, we have Vanishing Step with Stylus Executioner. Then fragments, we have Echo of Expulsion, Echo of Remnants, Echo of Undermining, and Echo of Reprisal. Then when it comes to the first weapon slot, a kinetic auto rifle. Could be anyone. I run Duty Bound just because I like this auto rifle. I like the whole 49 rounds in the mag, but also if you put a backup mag, you can get 57. So I just like that because weapons, or I should say auto rifles with a high mag size is very useful, because when you're dealing with barrier champions or something like that, if you're running an auto rifle with 30 or 20 shots, let's say for whatever reason, maybe you're getting sniped at by another enemy, so you get staggered and your gun goes up in the air, and you miss a couple of shots. Next thing you know, you're having to reload while trying to break a barrier shield, and what's happening while you're trying to reload, the health is going back up, and it's just an annoying thing. So I like to give myself as many just shots in the magazine as possible. That way, when you're trying to break a barrier shield or any type of champion, you have as many chances as you can just to deal with it. So that's genuinely why I like high magazine sizes, and especially when it comes to barrier champions. So I just recommend an auto rifle that carries a lot of ammo. So that's why I'm using duty bound. But again, use whatever you want. But that is for the auto, or I should say anti-barrier auto rifle artifact mod. That's also going to make it anti-barrier auto rifle. Now, in my secondary slot, Le Monarch, yesterday I was gassing this weapon up. I was like, oh my god, it's the best gun in the game. And in my opinion, it's one of the best bows in the game. But it's also one of the best overload champion weapons, in my opinion. Because I think we just happen to be lucky right now where we have a Void Surge. So that's very important, because when you have a Void Surge, you're doing increased Void damage. And as you can see, Le Monarch is a Void weapon. So the synergy is really, really good here, especially since we're running a Void subclass and we're synergizing with Gerfalcons. So intrinsically it has Overload Champion, so you don't need to put an artifact mod that has Overload Scout, I think it is, yep. You literally just put the bow on and you can just use it for overloads. Now, for some people, they're going to like that. For some people, they rather have their exotic slot for something else. Whatever it is, do whatever you want, but this is just what I'm using. And if you can get the catalyst on this, I highly recommend it. But if not, completely up to you. But Le Monarch in the second category, just to get rid of overload champions. And also, it's just very useful when it comes to Gerfalcons and stuff like that. Third slot, and this could be anything you want in reality. I just want to synergize with Void subclass and have a good, heavy in my opinion, which Retrofit Escapade. Don't get me wrong, during Season of the Seraph, this thing was absolutely broken. If you had 4 times the charm with target lock and everything, you were doing some crazy DPS as a hunter. But then that ended up getting patched. But in my opinion, it's still okay. It's definitely not as good as it was before. But this is kind of my go-to just because it's a Void LMG, and I like to carry as much ammo as possible for my heavy weapon. So whatever you decide to use whatever, but this is also another way to deal with barrier champions, because you can proc volatile rounds with this. If you go invisible with Gerfalcons and then you come out of being invisible, you get volatile rounds for your Void weapons, and this is just another way to stun, barrier champions. So it's pretty much like a multi-tool / multi-purpose weapon at this point, so I enjoy using that. And again, anything you want in the heavy slot, obviously I just recommend that you synergize it, make it be a Void weapon or whatever that way, or just to match whatever subclass you're using. Now, in terms of the armor, for my helmet, we have Void Siphon and Kinetic Siphon with Ashes to Assets. Ashes to Assets says gain bonus super energy on grenade kills. Obviously, it's in the name. You get nade kills, you get bonus super energy. That's pretty good, so you can always have your super up. Void Siphon and Kinetic Siphon are rapid Void weapon final blows and rapid kinetic weapon final blows. Both create orbs of power. So again, we're generating orbs, so that's gonna go hand in hand with what we have coming up. Firepower, your grenade final blows create orbs of power. Again, another way, if we're getting nade kills to get our super back quicker, we might as well get a bonus for getting nade kills, and that's creating orbs of power. Grenade Kickstart, when your grenade energy is fully expended, you gain grenade energy. And Void Loader increases the reload speed for Void weapons. Then here is where we start to get, the rewards for picking up orbs. And we have Charged Up. This increases the maximum number of stacks of armor charge you can carry by 1. So this allows you to have an armor charge, which then when you pick up an orb, that's going to lead here into the weapon surge that we have active. But we'll get into that in a minute. Then I have 2 Void damage resistant mods. Now, this you can change up if you want to. You can see you can run 2 or 1 Void and then put on 1 Arc if you really want to, because during the Lost Sector, you're going to see that I was getting sniped by a lot of Fallen, and I was taking a lot of damage because of that Arc damage, even though the Void burn for the enemies is what they have. It turns out the Arc damage is extremely lethal as well, so you can have 1 Void, 1 Arc, or you could have 2 arc, no void. Whatever you do, it's completely up to you. I just decided to go void damage resistance because the barrier champions do void damage and the final boss does void damage, so just keep that in mind. Then when it comes to my legs, this is where we have Better Already and Innervation. And Better Already is your health begins to regenerate immediately after picking up an Orb of Power. And then we have it reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an Orb of Power. So again, we're generating all of these orbs by all these different means, but we're also, when we pick up these orbs, we're getting benefits from picking them up. So yeah, we're getting armor charges, yeah, we're getting our weapon surge, but we're also getting orbs that are going to reduce cooldowns that are going to heal us as well. So you can see there's just bonuses to be picking up orbs. Then Void Weapon Surge, which is your Void Weapon gains a small bonus to damage while you have any armor charge. And this is really what allows you to do increased void damage on top of already having a void burn to our advantage. So pretty useful there. And to be honest, you can do, if you wanted to, you can just take, if you want both of these off or leave one and then just put maybe like a kinetic weapon surge. That way no matter what weapon you use, you're going to have increased damage. If you want, you can stack 2 void ones and get rid of one of those Orb of Power ones, but whatever you do, it's completely up to you. Then in terms of my cloak, we have 2 time dilation mods, and this is your Decaying Armor Charge, has a longer duration, so that way we're trying to get every single second of use out of those armor charges. And then Bomber reduces grenade cooldown when you use your class ability. So as we're using our dodge and we go invisible, we're going to be reducing grenade cooldown. That way we can throw it more often. That way when we pick up orbs, it helps with the cooldown and everything. So again, just a lot of good synergy being here. And one thing I want to note too is my exotic here. You can see Gerfalcons. After being invisible, your void weapons gain volatile rounds. Finishers while invisible grant bonus damage for all weapons and a reserve overshield for allies. So this is really just one of the key parts of the build, because after being invisible, you come out of being invisible and then boom, you get volatile rounds on your Retrofit Escapade. I think you do get it on Le Monarch, but it's not useful against the barrier champions because it already has overload rounds on it. So just keep that in mind. But then here you're going to see in terms of artifact mods what we have active, and this is just another way to have even more good synergy. So the first one is Authorized Mods Void, and what this allows you to do is it says your armor energy cost of all armor mods affecting your void weapons are significantly discounted. So things that affect things like Void Weapon Surge, you can see it costs 1 energy, but normally this would cost 3 or 2, so now it's discounted to 1. So that gives you more room to pick and choose from whatever else you want to do. I think Void Loader is also decreased, so it'd be 2 or 3 energy costs. Now it costs 1. So just keep that in mind when it comes to putting things together. Maybe if you notice that some of the things I have on you can't put on, and it's probably because of this. So make sure you have this unlocked. Then we have multi-siphon mods don't really work here because we're not using Arc or Strand. But Unto the Breach, defeating a void debuff target creates a void breach while your void subclass is equipped. This is another thing that you're going to see in the gameplay, and all these really do is they give you class energy, which is very useful, but most of the time I'm already dodging. I get my dodge back pretty fast, so I'm not desperately needing it, but it's just a nice thing to have since you're using a void subclass. And what void breaches do is they give you back class energy. So if you're a Titan, you're going to get your barricade back faster. If you're a warlock, you're going to get your rift back faster. And if you're a hunter like me, like I said, you're going to get your dodge back faster. So that means going invisible if you're using void, and you can obviously spam that with Gerfalcons. But then protective breach is picking up a void breach, gives you an overshield or refreshes your existing overshield. So you can see you're running around picking them up just so you can get an overshield. Again, even better. And then counter charge, which is you gain a stack of armor charge when you stun a champion. Now this is very useful because, let's say we're in a part of the lost sector and there's no red health bar enemies. I can't get orbs to drop, but if I just continuously stun the champion, I'll get that armor charge, and that will allow me to keep my weapon surge mod up. So my void weapons will constantly be doing increased damage and stuff. So very useful. I'll show you very quickly my artifact here, and here's what I recommend you get so this build obviously works. Anti-barrier auto rifle, make sure you get this so any auto rifle you have on will work against barrier champions. Then get authorized mods void, get unto the breach, then get protective breach, and then get counter charge. Anything else is completely up to you, but those are the ones that I highly recommend getting so you can have this work. But other than that, that's gonna do it for the build. We're gonna switch over to the gameplay now. So you can see we just spawned in here, and right off the bat what I recommend doing is just blowing up these little tripwire nades to your left. Then get rid of these red health bar enemies just to make it a little easier for yourself. Then what I also recommend is just go after any red health bar enemies. You can see there's some in the back here. Just get rid of them as quickly as possible so the champion doesn't make them immune, but it looks like that guy ran away from me. Here you can see we're just going to try to get rid of enemies from across, and you can see now the champion is making some of these enemies immune. I can't tell if that captain is still alive, but we'll find out in a second. Alright, I'm just not going to deal with that right now. We're going to focus the champion now just so we can try to get rid of these immune enemies that are super annoying. There we go. Now we're gonna just throw a nade, see if we get any kills with that. Looks like we did. Get ready to break his shield again. There we go. Now you can see we got a sniper up here. We still got that captain. There we go. I could have used my heavy to be honest if I wanted to, but I just really didn't feel like using it. And I mean, really, it just shows how useful that Monarch is in this scenario. You can see we got some Shanks and regular Hellfire enemies over here, but we also have an Overload champion that I'm not going to worry too much about right now. I recommend just getting rid of ads, get rid of explosive Shanks right off the bat because these guys are going to be super annoying. I'm looking around to make sure I'm not missing any. Now, let's just get rid of some red health bars because the barrier champion will make them immune. So let's get rid of this guy now. To be honest, don't feel like you have to go push and stuff like that. Just play it safe, stay back here. Like, these enemies are doing some big damage, even though the enemy surge modifier thing is void. Arc damage still does a lot of damage here. Keep that in mind. Work our way up here and deal with this overload. Okay, bro. Let's see. We got him stunned. And just keep spamming him with the bow. I wish I had my nade because I would have thrown my nade right there. Just like that. Let's just get the finisher. Trying to see if I have orbs anywhere, but it looks like I don't. I do have an armor charge though, so I probably picked them all up. But you also get armor charges for stunning champions, which is another part of my build here, so that's probably where I just caught them all from. But yeah, I recommend staying back here because there was one test run I did here where I ran up to the Overload champion and he teleported behind me, like back where I'm standing right now, and that just threw me for a loop. So I recommend just, you know, keep yourself at a distance. Don't try to, you know, run up to these guys unless you have like some one-shot build that you got going on. But you can see I like when it drops heavy here, that way for the boss and everything I can always run back in here for safety and pick up this heavy. So I have a lot of it to use, as you can see, and that's definitely going to come in useful in a bit. But here we have a barrier champion. You can see he hides behind these little platform things, which is super annoying. You can see, and he makes the dregs immune. So I'm going to actually go invisible here and see if I'm going to go to this side. But just be aware, once you do like a certain amount of damage, more enemies will start spawning. And obviously if they spawn behind me to the left, that's not going to be a good sign. So just keep that in mind if you're doing the same thing I'm doing. You can see now we got enemies spawning to the right, so it looks like we're a little safe here. Get rid of this guy. Trying to get that void kill, there we go. You can see these spawned, and for these shanks here, I'm literally just going to use my heavy. Try to get them low. That's going to make me invisible. I'm going to reload. And I'm only doing this too just because I have heavy to waste. You know, you obviously don't have a lot of heavy. I wouldn't recommend doing that. But since I have all those heavy bricks inside this little tunnel area, that's what I'm going to be using. Now, I'm going to back up just so I can have, you know, a little safe spot. Get rid of some more red health bar enemies. Because that void damage from the boss does hurt. Get rid of that. And then for the nightmares, it's just what I like to do. You don't have to do it, but I recommend getting them to like 1 HP. That way, whenever you're ready to do boss DPS, you get that increased damage because they're 1 HP, and then you can pick up Unstable Essence. And obviously that helps. So you can see, if you want and leave them to where you can get a finisher off, that's also a good option. But I see these ads here. I'm going to throw a nade so that makes me invisible. Assuming it gets a kill. There we go. Let's get rid of this captain too because they're super annoying. Boom. Get rid of some more red health bars because eventually as you do damage to the boss, more ads spawn. And the last thing you want is to get shot by 7 ads at the same time because then that's obviously annoying. So I'm going to run around here because he's making that immune. And I mean, you can see Lemonarch is doing some pretty good damage by itself. But what I'm going to do now is switch over to my machine gun here. I'm going invisible. You can see he teleported, so I'm going to get this finisher off. And let me run around. Now I have Unstable Essence, I can tether. And he always teleports here to the right, or actually the left if you're from the door where I was at, the little tunnel area. So he always goes here first, and then he's going to end up switching sides, so keep that in mind. Is he still there? I think he is, yeah. Just gonna finish doing damage with this LMG. Go invisible to get these volatile rounds to make it a little easier. Just reload this so I have a full magazine. Let's just focus on the crit. There we go. Just throw this nade. I think that's the nightmare, yeah. Just get rid of him real quick. And this. And you can see just like that, it's pretty easy to get done. Enhancement core, no exotic, but it is what it is. That was an 8-minute run. Not bad. Obviously, if you just want to use heavy, like, you know, I did more towards the end. And you can see I have a whole lot of heavy here that I still could have used. So to be honest, like, just could have used heavy that whole last encounter, but I just opted not to. So if you want to speed it up, feel free to use heavy like that. But make sure to like, comment, subscribe, drop a follow on my Twitch, twitch.tv/MonkishJames0. We will be going live later on today with the seasonal story at reset. And actually, I'll record the Lost Sector video if there's no construction at reset. That way it goes up as fast as possible. Then I might go live right after that. But yeah, just like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.